Hello and welcome to a new vlog and trip report, and today we're taking an ICE from Rostock to Fulda, and here on the map you can see our route today. We are starting at the main station of Rostock, also the beginning of this train. Due to constructions it didn't start in Warnemünde as usual, and here we can see the arrival of my train at the main station of Rostock. So my ICE today is an ICE 4, and I got my favorite seat in the train, which is the only single seat on the side of the train. Where there are usually two seats of the 2+1 configuration, there's one single seat on that side, and that is the best one in my opinion because you got more space and you get some extra features like the cup holders that are usually only available at the double seats. So for me it's the best place. Also you get some extra storage. And of course also all the other features which are standard, like seat reclining, power sockets, tables, and everything else you need is available. Here we are leaving the main station of Rostock, which as I said was the beginning of the line. Usually most ICEs and ICs are also going to Warnemünde, but due to constructions there was a very limited timetable between Rostock and Warnemünde, and therefore we are starting here in Rostock. We've just crossed the railway line that we were using in the last video coming from Berlin. Here we are crossing the Warnow. We are now using on the whole length the railway line Neustrelitz-Warnemünde, except for the part Warnemünde-Rostock. We're now going past Lage, which is where the unfortunately rarely used airport of Rostock is, and here we have the railway line on to Güstrow used by the S-Bahn. That means that this part of the railway line that we are using now is only used by the long distance trains. As far as I know, there is no regional train using this part of the railway line. Soon we will be crossing the railway line from Güstrow. Here we can see it. That means that we are now reaching on the right side the railway line branching off from my railway line to Güstrow. That's the part we used in the last video. So now we are back on the railway line that we already know from my last video. So we are jumping directly to the only stop in between, which is at Waren, the famous Lake Müritz. Very important touristic stop. And the next stop is then already in Berlin, which means that we are unfortunately not stopping at Neustrelitz, even though Neustrelitz is also quite important touristic city. And we can see some interesting trains here on the right side, so it's also quite interesting. We will be now going through the main station of Neustrelitz, fortunately, as I said, without stopping, even though there are also some quite important connections, especially on to Neubrandenburg and Stralsund, but also to the small city of Miro. Here we can see the main station of Neustrelitz. Of course, also Neustrelitz itself is quite important as it is in the center of the so-called Mecklenburger Seenplatte, a lake district, which is also important for tourism. Here we just saw the railway line to Miro, and as we've seen the railway line in the last video, we are now jumping already close to Berlin. Here we are close to Oranienburg. We can already see the tracks of the S-Bahn again. We're now going back on the Berlin outer ring. You can see how the long IC4 is going through that sharp bend to reach the Berlin outer ring. And then we are going through Berlin Gesundbrunnen without stopping. Our next stop is at Berlin main station. Unfortunately, we came to a stop shortly before the station. We had to wait until our track was empty. Of course, that means that maybe a few passengers missed their connection and we started to be slightly delayed. I was getting a bit nervous about being delayed because I had a changing time of just 9 minutes in Fulda, so I was hoping that we will be back on time soon. After leaving the main station, we are also stopping at Berlin Südkreuz, where I started my last video, but this time I don't need to change trains here. I can continue on all the way until Fulda, where I then have to change for a train heading south. The next big and important stop of my train will be the main station of Leipzig, where this train also changes directions. But before we are stopping at Lutherstadt Wittenberge, and there's something quite unnice happened, because we were slightly delayed. There was an important connecting train onto Dessau, and the train to Dessau left. And the second we opened our doors, that was not very nice, especially during this weather, especially when the train is only operating once per hour, so no all passengers. And there were a few passengers who wanted to take that train, had to wait 1 hour in the rain. And this is very bad because of course some of those passengers will probably next time use the car instead of the train. But for me it was of course no problem, because I'm continuing on quite a few more hours until we are reaching Fulda. As I said, the next important stop will be then in Leipzig, where we are changing directions. We are now getting closer to Leipzig. Leipzig has a very impressive main station, very beautiful and huge station. It is a terminus station, so we are changing the directions there, which also takes a bit of time. Here we are going in the station, and now we are leaving it again. As you can see, I'm now going backwards. We're still delayed, and I'm still a bit nervous about reaching my connections, because otherwise that means that also I have to wait for 1 hour in Fulda until the next train is going. Here we are on the high-speed line to Erfurt. High-speed line is always good to make up a delay, but we were still arriving slightly delayed in Erfurt. In Erfurt you have a lot of important connections, for example on to Munich via Bamberg and Nuremberg on the new high-speed line. Next to us there was also an ICE using that high-speed line. We were leaving the station at the same time, going parallel, as this train is going to a different railway line. It was leaving the station a little bit faster than us. Here we can see the train, also an ICE 4, overtaking us, heading for Bamberg, whilst we are continuing now on a regular railway line with stops, for example, in Eisenach. So as I said, I had a short connection time of just 9 minutes in Fulda, and we were around 5 minutes delayed, so it was still a bit close. I was expecting to make my connection as long as there's nothing else happening. Here we can see an interesting ICE1, that is so-called Mitte-Deutschland-Verbindung, also hopefully part of a video one day. So as I said, I was now hoping that we are not coming to a stop in front of the station of Fulda or something, then I should be able to make my connection, but it was still not sure until the last minute, so it was quite thrilling, because of course I wanted to get home and not waiting 1 more hour, also because I was getting picked up at the station, so I was really hoping to make my connection. Here we are slowly getting closer to Fulda, very important station in the railway network of Germany with connections onto Hamburg and Munich. And luckily we were arriving before my connecting train. As you can see, it's not there yet. It's supposed to arrive on the other platform, but it was a close call, because here I'm leaving my train, and as you can see, my connecting train is just arriving. So it was a close call, but luckily I made it, and that means that it was a nice and pleasant train ride from Rostock to Fulda. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.